So I wanted to make this video back when this video here came out like 6 months ago. So I'm a little late to the party. I saw it when it came out originally, and I wanted to make a video kind of responding to it a little bit. Um, but I'm late to the making that video, I guess, and then I don't normally make stuff like this. This is not scripted, so I recommend watching it in fast forward if possible on YouTube or sped up in some way because I might have long pauses in between the points being made. I'm almost not going to watch the whole thing because yeah, he starts going into Wipeout and stuff, which I love Wipeout, but I love F-Zero as well, GX specifically. I was hoping to kind of shed some light on the points being made in this video. Some of them are good, some of them are not good. Maybe it'll get more people into playing the game. I don't want people to not play the game as a result of this video. And I also want to preface this by saying that I really like this channel actually, because they cover a genre of games that isn't normally covered on the internet, really in any either written or video format. Yeah, I really like this channel, and I like this video actually because uh, a lot of the videos that exist on GX on YouTube are glazing about it. So this one, I can tell like they played the game. I remember from when I originally saw it, but I'm gonna rewatch it here and I'm gonna make kind of points based on things that they've mentioned here. So I'll just get right into it.
From millions of copies sold in the 90s to now less than 1,000 active players across the whole genre. This is Anti-Gravity Racing. Let's begin where we left off. F-Zero GX is known as the hardest racing game ever made, and yet it is widely considered as the pinnacle of AGR. It's one of the more well-known games of the sub-genre after all, and you've likely already seen many videos saying nothing but good things about it, with the exception of the difficulty. I, however, am going to approach things differently, not just to
Holy, holy shit, that was.
about it, with the exception of the difficulty. I, however,
I didn't even.
am
Wow, he jumped off that. He got hit by another machine and then bounced off that pipe tubing there on BBO. That's crazy. I didn't even know that was like an active hitbox or collision. That's crazy.
going to approach things differently. Not just to avoid creating another generic Gex is awesome but hard video, but also because, despite what the internet says, this game is actually dumbed down a lot. It might sound like my videos are rage bait, but these are genuinely what I think and the reasoning behind them. On the surface, Gex looks like an improved version of X. You have plenty of ships described by 4 main stats, tracks that get harder with each passing Grand
What does it say? Oh, it's just.
Prix, 30 opponents, strafing, side attacking, spin attacking, brief aerial control, sacrificing your health for speed boosts, and lots of speed. But there is one small design choice that I would say is bringing the whole game down. The tracks are wider. Wider tracks means you can take corner at higher speeds, which means grip is less important. Wider tracks mean you're less likely
Um, it's not really true. I mean, there isn't that much that I want to finish. Let's finish this point before I.
likely to hit other opponents, which means body strength and combat are less important. It means you're less likely to hit walls, which also means the game's easier. It's why you made horizontal strafing so strong, but it doesn't explain why ships recharge faster now. They really shouldn't when boost is the only important stat left. Unless you want to make the game even
Well, body stat, if you're time attacking, isn't really that important. And depending on your skill level, if you're playing GP, uh, your body stat is important if you can get in front, or it's important if you're still in the middle of the pack. It also determines on whether you can mine boost in certain situations. Uh, so it's not completely unimportant. I have like a little bit of time with X, so I don't know if I can say the tracks are necessarily wider. I think they're about the same. Maybe they're a little bit wider in here, with the exception of the AX tracks, which are built to be pretty wide. Um, it's just that as opposed to X, you don't really lose your full momentum really when you hit other machines or the walls, from what I remember. In this game, you do lose speed, but it just doesn't feel as though you severely slow down. Like you just pick up a little bit quicker. I don't know if the tracks being wider, because I don't really think they're that much wider. It's just the physics of the game are vastly different. So the body, I guess, isn't as important, but it is still important. And if you're playing GP with a machine that has a weak body and you're trying to get around the pack, like I remember doing my GP runs with Twin Narita. That's a fast machine in GX. But if you were like in the midst of a pack of machines because it doesn't have a very high top speed, I mean, you get bounced around, you just get absolutely demolished, especially if the AI starts spinning. So, yeah, I mean, yes and no, I guess.
Even easier. You wanted players to go fast without putting much effort. That's what F-Zero is about after all. But if you're always going fast, you're actually not moving at all. You added corners, but also added a quick turn mechanic that allows every ship to take every corner completely flat out with minimal speed loss, which means heavy ships have a little downside now.
So again, not entirely true. Quick turning, it's actually, I'm glad he brought it up, because not many videos really even mention this kind of thing. Quick turning, despite what it might seem here, uh, in the community, it's not considered to be advanced tech, even though I personally kind of consider it advanced tech simply because it goes beyond the scope of uh, what the game's manual or strategy guide or whatever's considered core to the game, like the three main ways to turn in this game, which would be drift turn, slide turn, and just strafe turn. Quick turning, the reason why it's not considered to be advanced tech is because it feels like such a natural part of racing in this game that it almost just feels like it's a part of the game and its identity. Like it's so intuitive. It just feels really good to pull off. I think he mentions here that allows every ship to take every corner with minimal speed loss. That's not true. Not every machine has a good quick turn, or really even a quick turn at all for the most part. Golden Fox can't quick turn very well, as an example. And there's many others that just don't quick turn. So that's not really true. I get what he's trying to say there is that once you do that turn, but that's what I'm saying is that it's considered to be a natural part of racing. And one of the cool things about the game is that there are so many ways to take a corner. And because some machines can't really quick turn, you have to kind of resort to other means of turning. So like Queen Meteor, for example, that machine can't quick turn. I imagine King Meteor can't either, but I haven't really raced on that machine much. I don't remember. So, but yeah, there's numerous machines in the game that just can't quick turn, and like he's using Sonic Phantom here. That machine can quick turn great gracefully. But no, that's not true. That's kind of misleading. But it does. You can pull off the quick turn maneuver with machines that can't quick turn and still get like a reasonable turn. But you're not gonna. They don't benefit as much from a quick turn as a lot of other machines do. And seemingly, a lot of the he mentions like heavier machines don't get affected by it as much. But again, it just depends. There's 41 machines in the game, and it just depends on which one you're using. So that's not entirely true.
Every corner completely flat out with minimal speed loss, which means heavy ships have a little down.
Oh, he
Every ship to
mentioned
take every corner
in the yellow there, a grip E-grip ships still slide but can gain speed for some reason. Again, not entirely true. Uh, it I'm pretty sure they still lose speed, but the amount of speed they lose is just depends, I guess. Yeah, again, like Queen Meteor, uh, Golden Fox, they can't really quick turn. They don't have good quick turns, if you could even call it that. So again, it just depends on the machine.
Are completely flat out with minimal speed loss, which means heavy ships have a little downside now. And it's a letdown considering that the ships now have a lot more character and feel distinct, whereas X ships didn't
Yeah,
differ much aside from the four main stats.
right.
Still, at least they were accurate. They lazily copied the ship stats from X, but the new physics mean that most of them are now meaningless. Visually speaking, the drag oval and
So yeah, the stats being wrong and some being kind of accurate. I mean, there's no real defending that, I guess. They did copy it over from X. The reason as to why, I don't think we know really. Um, we wouldn't know unless we had asked the developers at the time when the game was released. So, yeah, I mean, there's no real defending that, I guess. Even the thing is, though, is that even if the stats that were displayed in game, either the the letter stats or the other stats that can display, I think when you go into like the pilot profiles and then look at the machine, even if those were accurate, though, the feel of each machine matters. Like you still have to know how a machine controls by actually using it, and just letter grades is not enough. There's an insanely helpful um, website that details all of the machines' stats visualized at varying speed stats by AKC12 called F0GX stats visualized. If you want to Google that, uh, that's to put something like that in the game would be way too overwhelming for most players. So I'm saying that even if the stats were pretty accurate, you still, to get a better idea of what the machine is really like, you have to use it. You know, it's kind of like playing a MOBA. Uh, like you can read about what all these like Dota or League characters and things like that do, but you still kind of have to use the character or see it in game to get an idea of what it plays like, and that's kind of the same thing here.
Gex is about twice as wide as X. Even if we ignore the track's Mario Kartified width, they're still lazy. This exact same 90-degree corner, for example, appears over 40 times. Track design. Remember when you had to
Okay, that's like completely misleading. So when I'm surprised he even counted all those, but that 90-degree turn that appears for over 40 times or 40 times, he's making it sound like out of the like 26 tracks in the game, not counting story mode tracks, that every single one has like a certain amount of them, and that's completely wrong. Uh, in fact, so for example, I mean, just we'll go through it. So this track doesn't have any. No, no, no. So this track, yeah, Multiplex has one there, one sort of in the beginning, and if you want to count the chicane, yeah, this track has a few. I mean, if you want to count the chicane, maybe, but this track has a couple of them. So that's our like the first one that has it. Has a few of them, but it's part of this track's kind of identity, and it's a fan favorite track, frankly. This track doesn't have any. Nope. 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 Yeah, Serial Gaps has at least two. So that's three so far. Or was that? Wait. No, two tracks so far. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I can't count. Yeah, two track. Okay. Two tracks so far. No. Nope. 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 Big Blue, yeah, BBO has a couple, although there's a chicane, and then trying to think. The map is spinning. Yeah, so maybe like a couple here. So like two track or three tracks so far. Nope. No. Oh, no, this is lateral shift. Those aren't like 90-degree turns. So nope. 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 And no. 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 So Thunder Road is like the other one where there's like a bunch of them. And again, these are like AX tracks. They're kind of like designed, most of them are designed to be pretty wide because they were made to accommodate for the, or you could assume that for the arcade machine where players are more likely to steer on one side more than the other. They were kind of designed with that in mind. But these are like great tracks, though. These are some of the most fun tracks in the game. And Spiral, no. And no. So it's like what, four tracks among the 26 here, and in story mode, no, no, nope, 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 nope. This one. This is actually the one he shows, I think, the most. This probably has the most 90-degree turns in the game. And this is just a story mission. Nope, and nope. So I mean I wasn't really keeping track of the actual numbers. I think that's like what, five tracks out of every track in the game that have a 90-degree turn. Like it's just like, I'm sorry to stay so much on that one, but that's just like kind of, that's very misleading. That's not really, you know,
Example
that's,
appears over 40 times.
yeah, see,
Track
I mean he's showing mostly the same tracks too.
as X. Even if we ignore the tracks Mario Kartified with, they're still lazy. This exact same 90-degree corner, for example, appears over 40 times.
But that's not lazy, like it's a racing game. I mean, you don't, it's some tracks have a few of them or just one or two, and it's like I'd rather turn in various ways depending on what machine I'm using than just drive in a straight line.
Track design. Remember when you had to maintain magnetic grip when riding cylinders? Not anymore. There are some unique tracks.
You could still go flying off
Remember
the
when you had to
track.
maintain magnetic
I don't
grip
know how much more often it would be compared to the two games.
when riding cylinders? Not anymore.
They are much stickier. I don't know if you'd go flying off the track on anything other than probably Cylinder Wave, but no, you could still lose insane amounts of speed on these tracks. It's more about, on these tracks it's a little bit more about driving in the right line. But no, even the machine matters too. Like you could just go sliding off and then just, not off the track, but you just lose so much speed that you might as well just have
There are
lost the
some unique
race.
tracks, but now the game isn't designed around them. Sharp corners, the camera is too narrow and slow to follow them. A track that isn't a glorified airstrip, the strafing is now too strong for it. Or at least they put them on analog trackers. But there's a 10% dead zone on everything now, even if you set it to 0.
Oh, like it's 18 to 9. I mean, the fact that this is even in the game as well as it is impressive. I don't know too much about that, the 10% dead zone on everything. I mean, compared to basically any other racing game, I don't know of another one where you can easily adjust the dead zone. I think maybe if you play in Dolphin, you could probably, I've not looked into that, but maybe you can adjust the setting even further. I'm not sure. Uh, I don't know if in an emulator it might help more. So I'm not sure on that one really.
Note that you'll need to smoothly steer anyways. It still matters, but to a much lesser extent when compared to X. The game now uses some sort of autopilot when you're in air, and the pitch control is less responsive. You can
I don't know what he means by autopilot in the air. Let me see that again.
X. The game now uses some smoothly steer anyways. It still matters, but to a much lesser extent when compared to
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, you can't, in X, it's a lot more sensitive compared to this game, but X was also even more particularly designed with its native controller in mind, the N64. So, uh, yeah, like being very steady with the stick is a bit more important than in X. Yes, I mean that part is true. It still matters, as is mentioned here, but um, yeah, I guess that part is sort of true. It also, again, the physics difference plays a role there, though.
to X. The game now uses some sort of autopilot when you're
I
in
don't know
air,
what he
and the
means
pitch
by
control
that.
is less responsive.
I'm gonna assume he's playing in an emulator, so whatever pitch control issue he's having, I don't know. I would need either a bit more explanation on that, or maybe someone else could tell me because I have no idea what he means by that. I mean, does he mean that if you hold back too much, you just come to a complete stop? So, like in X, it wasn't as much like that. You kind of like float a little bit depending on what your speed setting was. Like you can fly, super fly, I think it's called in X, when your acceleration is all the way on max or whatever, something like that. I don't know. I don't know what he means by that, really.
You can lose grip on purpose by holding both strafe buttons, but why would I do that when I can quick turn every corner and spam side attack like a maniac? Someone looked at this cooldown and thought it wouldn't be totally abused. Even though the physics are more complex,
There's a lot to unpack with that one. Again, it's just varying degrees of turning. This game has a lot of ways to turn, and I think that in X, for example, I think that there was, I want to say there was an intention to make side attacks the way to take certain corners in that game. You can't spam it as fast, but you also don't, in this game, you don't, he
strafe
mentioned,
buttons, but why would I do that when I can quick turn every corner and
well, you can't quick turn with every single machine, but
spam side attack like a maniac?
so one side attack in GX is not the same as one side attack in X, from what I remember, from what I've played of X. So you can spam side attack twice in X to clear a corner, for example. And GX two side attacks isn't really enough, and that I think this is the disconnect there for what is being shown here. Like
By holding both strafe buttons, but why would I do that when I can quick turn every corner and spam side attack like
like he had to press side attack many times there just to take this corner, for example. In X, you can't because two side attacks is enough. Like it doesn't, the two side attacks in the games don't equate to one another, and I think that that's kind of the misunderstanding here. Again, the physics engine is vastly different, so they they looked at that, they knew you could press it rapidly. They probably didn't do it much during play, but they didn't think that, you
a
know,
maniac?
it was the same as X. Like we'll just make it quick and then players can abuse it. It's not really how that works, I
Someone
don't
looked at
think.
this cooldown and thought it wouldn't
Driftiest ship, no strafing. I mean, Black Bull's the hardest machine and non-custom in the game, so I don't really think that's like fair. Like if you can win with this machine or get good times, then you're just good. But anyway, yeah, the whole side attack thing, it's just not the same thing at all. It's not some like it's not about, you know, abusing some, again, it just depends on the machine and that the side attacks are not the same.
be totally abused. Even though the physics are more complex, the game is mechanically less challenging, and even the exploits that some people like to call advanced techniques are easier to perform. Arab drifting, for example, turns the game into easy mode as long as you're willing to sacrifice your wrist and your gamepad, as you'll be mindlessly wiggling it left and right. Most of the game has been an improvement otherwise.
So snaking is advanced tech, yes, and I think putting advanced tech in air quotes is just, we're kind of like, you know, as I mentioned before, it's not necessarily called advanced tech because it's difficult to do. It's just that it's not among the, like I know the devs apparently discovered snaking during development, but it's not like and they considered an intended mechanic, but it's not like in the game's manual. The game doesn't expect you to ever use it. The game doesn't expect you to abuse it. They don't expect anybody to really use that mechanic at all to enjoy the game. And it's not called advanced tech because it's advanced necessarily, as in it's like difficult to do or super complex. It just goes outside, like I said earlier, the scope of what is expected of the player. Like even though quick turning is a natural part of gameplay and that I personally see it a little bit like advanced tech, the vast majority of players who play the game a lot don't consider it to be advanced tech because it's just a natural part. Even though the inputs to a new player might seem a little bit difficult to grasp, it's not considered advanced tech. And snaking isn't necessarily something you would just tell a person starting up the game that, hey, do this and you'll go insanely fast. It's just varying skill levels. I don't know how much time he has in this game, but I assume it's probably more than the average person. And yeah, you could pull off snaking fairly easily depending on what machine you're using, but it's advanced tech because it's just among the um, different various techniques that separate. Like snaking is its own category, really. So yeah.
It's just been dumbed down and tuned poorly, with lazy tracks that won't let the game fully realize its potential. It's clear that all the effort went into making them look good instead. Gex still visually holds up today and goes hard with the vibes. But I'm playing a game here.
I don't think there's really any tracks in this game that are poor at all. I think they all have lots of thought and care put into them. There's some slight outliers, like Cylinder Wave is not a very loved track, and uh, he doesn't like wide tracks. Phantom Road is as narrow as it gets, and that's not even a very liked track. Uh, so it's difficult. It's a difficult track. There's very few tracks in the game that are like low quality, really. Um, and him saying that it's dumbed down compared to X, I think I wouldn't use the word dumbed down. I do think X is probably the harder game, actually. I know GX is, it's probably just because it's the one most people play, but I do find X to be a harder game. Um, I don't think X is easy, and I think a big part of it also is that it's probably best played on native hardware with an N64 controller, whereas GX, it also probably is best on a GameCube. I have it on the GameCube, but you could play it with another controller and map things accordingly and still have a pretty good time.
Instead, Gex still visually holds up today and goes hard with the vibes. But I'm playing a game here, and a racing one at that. It's a genre where raw graphics matter the least, and for some reason companies treat them as graphics showcases. And I guess it works. During editing, I kept looking at the gameplay thinking, wow, this looks awesome, maybe I was wrong about this game. But then I get back to actually playing it, and realize it's not that amazing. We're not done though, cause Gex introduces a brand new story mode, which is a fancy word for driving missions, cause let's be real, there's no story here. Or in any racing game. This mission is why Gex is known to be the Dark Souls of racing games. Took me 7 attempts. It's a head-to-head race with rocks falling onto the track, and it does seem challenging at first, but then you realize the rocks are scripted, so once you learn their pattern...
Um, so I'll say a lot about this. This is kind of coming to the end of I think the video, maybe? Oh no, there's still quite a bit. So the whole like Dark Souls of X or Y, uh, yeah, that's like a meme. Realistically, GX is a difficult game. That don't doesn't matter what anyone says, but I actually do think that the barrier of entry isn't as high as a lot of people say. I think most people on varying skill levels can get into this game and still have fun. You don't need to win every single game, but I do think that the barrier of entry isn't as high as it may seem. It has a reputation for being difficult because of how fast it is, um, and just how twitchy it is, and the story mode is brutal. but I mean, it's not actually like the hardest game. And I might make a video sometime in the future, I don't know when, kind of highlighting why I do believe that. So, and the story mode here saying that it only took you 7 attempts, I mean, that's just skill level. I mean, I'm gonna assume based on the other videos this channel has put out that he has played many other AGRs, quite a lot. So you taking 7 attempts on normal mode sounds about right. And saying that once you realize that the rocks are scripted, I mean that's just it just depends on who's playing, really. I don't think anyone's always going to get that. And this mission in particular kind of gets a reputation for being kind of the wall in the game, but I think that a lot of that does come from kids playing this mission back in the day. Like this was like the second mission, and this was the first wall if you played this game as like a 10-year-old or whatever. And if you did manage to get past this, the next wall was probably like, I don't know, I want to say chapter 7 even on normal. Like that's probably where you did quit the game if you did manage to get that far. So it's just a tough. I know people who've never played this game and have had a fine time with this mission. I know some people who've taken forever. It just depends. I mean, it's not this mission isn't like the defining thing of what makes this game hard, but yeah, it just depends on who's playing and how experienced they are with racing games.
You just cruise to the end of the level. It's the same with every other mission really, except for this destruction one where you also need a bit of luck. The real challenges are the hardest difficulty that leaves little room for mistakes. But even then, this is one of the easier missions. Though it is also the
Yeah.
second one, so I assume most people got stuck and didn't get to play the rest. But why? Mafia introduced racing to people who never played racing games, and Driver gave you objectives that only English-speaking car guys understood. But Gex? I don't know. Maybe you didn't get to pick games to buy as a kid. Or maybe you looked at the characters in the cover and thought it's some fighting game. Oh god. Still, it's clear that most people don't know how to handle vehicles in video games. They expect them to be slow and responsive like a human character, and not something with loss of power and limited grip. Additionally, games have become easier over time, which means something even remotely challenging is going to look out of place. That's why Gex is known as the hardest F-Zero game, despite actually being easier than X and the original F-Zero.
Yeah, I agree.
Hell, it even sold fewer copies. It really shouldn't be this infamous.
I'm glad he actually put the real accurate sales numbers for GX and not what Nagoshi has stated because I feel like a lot of publications and stuff have put the producers uh, inaccurate amount, double the amount. So that's cool that he actually put the real number. It's like almost 700,000. Yeah, yeah. There's different reasons as to why it started to sell less, but I'm not really gonna go into that right now. Oh,
But that's just a theory, and maybe you can provide a better one. Despite the skill issue, the difficulty, most people say Gex is the best F-Zero game. But let's actually see why that's the case. We have 6 F-Zero games in total, 4 of which are much simpler 2D games made for weaker hardware, which leaves us with 2 3D games for a fairer comparison. One of these games couldn't be played properly without the original hardware for 25 years, so yeah, Gex
yeah.
wins the one-man race. It just hurts knowing how much better Gex would have been with little effort.
Yeah, I mean, if people do consider I mean, I like GX more than X, but if it's the one that's considered to be the best in the series, it doesn't have much competition within itself. So, but with that being said, like, what's kind of cool about this whole franchise is that they're all good. They're all good games. I mean, even the two kind of lazier Swan Song games are not bad games. Um, like these are the only two 3D ones, so yeah, it doesn't have much competition in terms of within its own franchise, but they're all good games and people like them for different reasons. Some like X more than GX, some like GX more than X, and some people like both. Um, so Yeah, it's what he
Much
says
simpler
is
2D games made
true,
for
I
weaker
suppose.
hardware, which leaves us with two 3D games for a fairer comparison. One of these games couldn't be played properly without the original hardware for 25 years, so yeah,
It's
Gex
true.
wins the one-man race. It just hurts knowing how much better Gex would have been with little effort. The driving is poorly tuned, but enjoyable otherwise, the missions offer something fresh while still being fun and challenging, and even the ship creator benefits from the new physics. Just like Podracer, Gex was still a great experience first time around. But even Podracer had many slow corners despite being known as one of the fastest racing games ever and also taking place in large open areas.
Well, I'm sure this game is great. I vaguely remember it when I was little. I think I rented it from Blockbuster. But I mean, mechanically, I wouldn't even say this is anywhere remotely close to what GX. He says GX is poorly tuned, but I really don't know how anyone could come to that conclusion in any way. I have no idea. It's just unbelievable to me.
With how little competition there is, Gex is still near the top of my AGR list, but I'd rather go back to X when I want to play F-Zero. Still, could have been worse, they could have made it even easier, and if Mario Crap is anything to go by, it would have resonated better
Yeah, I mean that's fine. If you like X more than G, there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally, I get it.
with the casual audience, leading to more popularity. This game ended up selling so poorly that a sequel was never considered. Things weren't any better for
So I think that's probably the end of it. Uh, yeah, it's poor sales. I don't know if I'll get into that, but it's not. It's not. First of all, it's, almost 700,000 copies isn't poor sales. Like it got a greatest hits edition. It sold more than 250,000 or more than 300,000 copies. So that's already like it's probably not necessarily what Nintendo always wants. And compare if you go look at Mario Kart Double Dash's sales around the same time, I don't know what the number is, but it's like in the millions. Yeah, it's just Miyamoto has said that the franchise, in terms of just, he said something like it's evolved very little, which it is true and also isn't true. It's just that it takes mechanics that were in X and then just does something completely different with its new physics engine, and that's why it feel that the two games feel so different to play. But they've said Nintendo has said, don't again, I don't want to get too into it, but they've said that they're just trying to come up with like a new way to play the game, and once they do, then they'll probably put out a new one, which I guess they did with 99, and I like 99. I think 99's a fun game. I don't have that much time into it, but usually when I'm playing any F-Zero game that isn't GX, I'm always thinking like, man, I could just be playing GX. But they're all good. They're all good games. I kind of want to play more of X. It's like the one that I really want to play. And 99 is pretty fun because it's like the only one with like a real online, uh, real online mode. So I think that should be the end of the video.
F-Zero's main competitor either. While F-Zero would focus on wide, high-speed tracks, light handling, and physical combat, Wipeout would instead go for tighter, technical tracks, weighty handling, and weaponized combat. This would be the last time that these two flagship AGR franchises would go against each other, and it wasn't even a contest. Just like Gex, Wipeout Fusion also seemed
I love Wipeout. I love Wipeout. Yeah, Wipeout and GX are both great. They're just great for different reasons. Um, I they're both AGRs, but I wouldn't really compare the two necessarily. So um, they're both pretty fast. GX is very fast. I don't necessarily think that the tracks being wider is like a flaw with the game necessarily. I don't even think on average they're that much wider than X. So yeah, again, I don't really know where that is. I need like a full track measurement, but the physics of both games being different kind of attributes to that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I would need real measurements for that. That seems to be one of the main things he's complaining about, is the tracks being wider. So anyway, yeah, that's that's it.